So welcome, Kotze. This is a different morning for us. We start with podcast, and we feel that this video series is going to be a good way to answer a lot of the questions that we've been having regarding our EcoPool service and how exactly are honeybees being used as sensors. So I wanted to get our technical director to explain what it means to use honeybees as sensors and why are they so effective.
Thanks for having me. I'll try and explain it as simply as I can. But you're a beekeeper. You know how efficient bees are at finding anything that is currently flowering. So even the first flowers in spring, they're there. You can see them. And this ability, we don't really have all the details of how, but we do know that they're really good at finding any source of nectar or pollen and bringing it back into their hive. In this way, they concentrate all the genetic material that they find valuable, that is available in the area that they inhabit. And by collecting this pollen, taking it from them in a systematic way, and then analyzing it, we can learn a lot about the environment that they inhabit.
So getting the pollen would mean that we should mention that bees go to about 3 kilometers to gather nectar and up to 12 kilometers to gather pollen, as it is the protein source for their baby bees, right? So basically what you mean is that getting that pollen from the ecosystem into the hive is a way for you to measure the whole environment around that hive, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we can sense what is currently growing, how many different flowers and plants in general are currently flowering and providing resources not only to the honeybees but to all the other pollinators and insects that inhabit this area.
So evaluate basically the plant species, which would mean that we're evaluating biodiversity, right?
Yes, exactly. So plants are really the base of the food chain. All the other species that go higher up in the food chain depend on these resources that plants provide. Plants themselves depend on honeybees and on other insects to pollinate them. And this interaction between plants and insects really forms the whole food chain.
It is interesting, but not a lot of people really do understand that one plant could mean much more than just a source of protein or carbohydrates for bees. One plant could be a perfect snapshot of what is wrong with a certain ecosystem, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So if the soils are polluted, for example, then this will be reflected in the plant's development and the resources it provides and its ability to really adapt to that environment and all the changes that are happening year to year with climate and urbanization and everything else.
So essentially in EcoPools you analyze the material that has been gathered from the different plants to know basically which plants are there.
Yes, exactly. And doing this year over year, we can see how the environment is changing, whether it is getting more diverse, which basically means more resilient, more adaptive, more resistant to change. And also we can compare different types of environments. So for example, an urban environment to some agricultural environment, or a village where a lot of agricultural products are grown.
So we're basically doing that right now in 2 different projects, right?
Yes, we have several approaches. So in one we're focusing on the areas that companies are using for their businesses. Then we have one that focuses on agricultural areas, so trying to identify the state of the places where we grow our food and where we source our vegetables, fruits and everything else that we rely on. And then we also have currently small one running on urban environments, which we hope will grow because there's a lot to learn about them too, about the environments that we inhabit every day.
Yeah, particularly in the center of Sofia.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you about this, but first tell me about sorry, those pollutants, because the project that we have running in the rural environments right now, where the food is grown, they are mostly focused not on establishing a baseline for biodiversity, but rather about showing the general population what really we have in those plant species that are feeding us, right? So talk about the pollutants that we have the ability to measure using EcoPulse.
Well, there is a lot of different pollutants that can be identified, so that they get on the plant either through the soil that they get resources from, through the air, or through the water that is used to, water them. So some of the most important ones that we're looking for are pesticides, which are commonly used in agriculture. Sometimes, unfortunately, people use them without following regulations, which causes problems with the food and for pollinators, which then reflects on the productivity of that agricultural area. But we can also learn a lot about, for example, heavy metals that are potentially polluting soils and entering the food chain. Not only for us, but again for all the different species that rely on these food sources.
So what type of pollutants can we detect?
Apart from basically all chemical pollutants which would have entered the soil through...
So that's pesticides for sure.
Yeah, pesticides, definitely one of them, heavy metals, and so these known as persistent organic pollutants like PFAS and other industrial byproducts that should not, but unfortunately sometimes do enter the broader environment and the food chain.
That's what you call forever chemicals,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a colloquial term.
Yeah, that's a funny way to put it, but forever really means forever in this environment. Once leaked, it's always there for all the food that we're going to produce.
Yeah, well, hopefully someday we have a way to clean them up, but really our best bet at the moment is to avoid putting them in the environment, because we really don't know how to clean them up.
Yeah, that's really the first step, though. We need to be able to first understand the state of biodiversity in a certain area before even attempting to do anything to repair it, right?
Yes, and this is the main goal with EcoPulse at this point, is establishing this baseline that you mentioned, that will allow us to make comparisons in the future, see how much positive impact we've managed to have on the environment, and improve the situation in terms of biodiversity and pollution, and also which areas are doing better, and which are doing worse.
So we mentioned that we do this service for some public cases, like showing the general population what is there in the environment where we grow our food, for example, what is in the environment in the city. But we do have some private projects as well. Could you walk us through what one project like that really looks like? A customer comes and says, okay, I want to evaluate the ecosystem around my facility, my production facility, or wherever I have my business. What are the first steps? How long is the project? And basically, what are the milestones in it?
Well, the first step is, of course, having a beehive in the area. We rely on the bees as sentinels, as accumulators of the material that we analyze. So maintaining a healthy and productive colony is critical. And that, of course, means we also need a beekeeper that can, on one side, take good care of the families, and on the other side, be diligent in collecting the material following the methodology that we've provided, because this is crucial for quality information.
So the methodology, what is it?
The pollen collection, really. So it has to be timed properly, it has to be collected regularly, and it has to be stored in the proper way, so that it can be good quality for the analysis that the laboratory is going to do.
So basically you need pollen from every plant that has been flowering in order to detect it, right?
Yeah, essentially that means collecting constantly a little bit of pollen, because if you collect too much, you're going to, deprive the colony of an important resource, and it's not going to be healthy and productive.
So we need good beekeepers.
Yes, exactly.
And what do you do with the material after that? So this is kind of a genetic material, right? It's genetic material from the plants that are being observed in the ecosystem.
Yeah, so the material after that is divided into batches depending on how many analyses we want to do throughout the year and how detailed we want to have the information. Is sent to the laboratory between 1 and 6 times per year. We get back from the laboratory the information on what genes were found basically, and which tells us what plants the pollen has been collected from, and any additional pollutants or contents basically of the material is also provided. This depends of course on what we're interested in this particular area. So sometimes it can be heavy metals. If it's, say, an industrial operation nearby, or could be pesticides, the most important if it's agricultural setting where you're trying to grow something in a biological way.
Yeah. So genetic analysis, is there a specific name for that sort of analysis, or is just genetic?
There are several scientific names. What I think is most understandable and is used most commonly, we call it environmental DNA or eDNA analysis, which basically analyzes the genes in this material, any remnants or pieces of DNA or an RNA, and is compared to certain patterns which identifies what species it came from. This can be used, of course, not only for plants. There are many different species you can identify and are being identified in that way, but we are interested in plant pollen interactions, and this is what we're analyzing. Plant pollinator.
So lastly, what is the role in this project of the beekeeper? How important is it to have a good beekeeper?
Yeah, as I said, the beekeeper is crucial, and it's a very important link. He has the direct link to the beehive. He is responsible for the proper timing of collections of pollen, but also of maintaining this healthy colony. So if you, for example, at some point you have some rainy days and there's not a lot of pollen coming in and they don't have enough, and you still take away the little that they can find, you're risking that colony and you're risking the information that you can collect for the rest of the season. So the beekeeper has to make that judgment call when he's looking inside the hive whether we can currently collect that pollen, and he also has to support them with providing them with external pollen sources or sugar sources or whatever they currently need so that they can fly in this huge area that we discussed and collect the material that we need to understand the environment.
So basically keeping your sensors alive is quite crucial for the project. One funny thing about conversating with beekeepers on the project, because I was tasked with the activity of negotiating with beekeepers. So of course we pay them to gather that pollen and to follow the methodology that you have provided. But most of the beekeepers did not understand that they're going to get paid, but they were still willing to do that, because I like to say that beekeepers are great sensors of the environment too, because they know the environment. They really know where their bees are and what is present in that environment. So for most of them, it was like, you're going to give me like perfect genetic analysis of the biodiversity that I have around me. Wow, that's something I would pay for. So it seems that the beekeepers really do get the service.
Yeah, good beekeepers definitely have to be more connected to the environment than the average person is. This is part of their job. But we're also working on ways to make their life easier in terms of this pollen collection through technology, through IoT, and through this other technological aspect of our mission, and I'm sure we'll currently have some exciting news on technological approaches to address these issues.
I'm sure about that as well, but we're going to leave that for a second video, because what you're doing in cooperation with academia is, I think, a subject to a longer, maybe, video format, where we are going to give an update on everything that we're working on in terms of innovation. So I reserve my right to have another chat with you in this format. Did you like it?
Yes, it was great, and I would be happy to do it again and give you more information on what we're doing and the exciting stuff that's coming up.
Thank you, Koce.
Thank you too.